Gifts of presence. So to start, I want to ask, how many of you have ever felt the presence of a mysterious, unseen, energetic entity? Maybe, perhaps, if some of you believe in a god or goddess, or maybe have felt the spirit of a deceased loved one. I mean, maybe something like that. Or perhaps you've experienced a feeling of fear, being in a room where you felt like there was something else in the room, but rationally, in your logical mind, you knew nothing was there, but you just felt something was present. Has anybody else ever felt that? So I use both of those examples because I know that sometimes people who don't believe in spirit or God might have a hard time imagining what does this, sense of otherness as a presence feel like. But sometimes we forget that fears, maybe sometimes as a kid you might have had an experience of a fear underneath your bed. And that was a projected fear, anxiety, that then sometimes people kept fears like that of the dark, and then, it becomes the energy in the shadows. That's this darkness that all of this fear is projected onto. I believe that it's possible to do the same thing in a corner of light, or something that I've done is actually send loving energy into the corners of darkness. So those spaces that have felt like maybe I was afraid, immediately now, because I've been doing this practice for a while, immediately my mind starts to think of something really fun and exciting in there, like, oh, maybe there might actually be a star deep, deep, deep inside the darkness. And that gives me a little bit more excitement. So I'm saying these things as examples of ways that maybe you can engage this feeling of presence that maybe you aren't a person who naturally connects to. Last Sunday, we explored attention as a doorway to presence, but from a different context. This week, as we approach a holiday that some celebrate as the birth of God's embodied presence on earth, we'll reflect on what it means to embrace a gift of Spirit's presence, not necessarily God, but just something that might be waiting for us positively, like this metaphorical star that might be waiting for me in darkness. I like to believe that something wonderfully delightful is always just waiting to be revealed in these moments of magic that we can't always see with our eyes. So when I say Spirit's presence, what do I mean? So I kind of mentioned it earlier and said one way to understand it is a quote-unquote hidden divine otherness. This concept points to the ineffable nature of the sacred, a reality that resists being reduced to doctrines or creeds, yet many will say moves unmistakably through our lives. It whispers to us in the stillness of night. It thunders through cries for justice in our streets. It is both intimate and transcendent, both near and unknowable. I wonder, where might you encounter the feeling of presence in your own lives? Perhaps it's been in quiet moments of prayer or meditation. Or maybe when you feel deeply connected to something larger or greater than yourself. I know when I grew up, one of the favorite scriptures that people would quote is when 2 or 3 are gathered, the Spirit is present. Some would say God is present. I believe that whenever I'm with community, something else comes alive that unifies us. I think that that's quite mysterious, because it just seems to happen on its own. As a minister, I like to think I can play creatively with this energy and invite it to lead us in a certain direction. I like to believe that y'all show up so that y'all can participate in the creative expression of this spirit that we all join in together. So as I said, maybe it arises for you in your works of justice, or when you join with others to resist oppression and build a more compassionate world, but perhaps it reveals itself in the beauty of nature or in the laughter of children. Sophia Lyon-Fawes, a pioneer in religious education, invited UUs to embrace the divine mystery in the curiosity and wonder of children. For her, the Spirit's presence was not confined to traditional religious forms, but was alive in the questions and explorations that bring us closer to the sacred. Again, I say, whether or not you identify as a believer in the mystical, I invite you to open yourself to this sense of presence. I believe that as people of faith, we are called to hold space for the unknown, as we just did in our prayer. We are called to trust that there is a love that is holding us in that time, even if our intellect falters. Such trust is not easy. It requires surrendering control, letting go of the need for certainty, and listening deeply to the moment. Oh, all of that can sound terribly hard. It can feel terribly hard, if I'm honest, to just trust that life is going to show up and meet me. That's what faith is. Unitarian Universalism is often seen as a religion of the mind. We prize reason, cherish critical thinking, and value intellectual inquiry. This tradition of thoughtful questioning is rich inheritance. Yet, if we only dwell in the mind, we risk missing Spirit's invitation to transformation. Consider the lyrics of the song from our hymnal, Mysterious Presence, Source of All. The first verse said, "Mysterious presence, source of all, the world without, the soul within. Fountain of life, oh, hear our call and pour your living waters in." All it is inviting in the spirit of life itself. This hymn invites us to experience spirit not as a puzzle to solve, but as a living reality to embrace. Not something to think about. Rationality has its place, but so does spirit that whispers in mystery, nudges towards compassion, and calls us to embody love and justice in the world. Sometimes it might feel like an intuitive tug. Our faith has long sought to balance reason and spirit. Folks like transcendentalist theologians of the 19th century, like Ralph Waldo Emerson, I know some folks often speak of, but I don't often speak of him from the pulpit or from the front. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in The Oversoul, "The soul in man is the background of our being, often flowing into us as virtue, truth, and love, as moments of revealing insight." End quote. Emerson's Oversoul points to a spiritual reality encountered in stillness and beauty, love and justice. A spiritual reality that is like a force that flows through us if we remain receptive to it. Similarly, Reverend Dr. Theodore Parker preached about a moral arc. We also like to speak of this particular quote. Theodore Parker preached about a moral arc bending towards justice But what we don't sometimes say is that in this quote, it goes on to speak about being driven by divine forces. He spoke of spirit calling humanity towards liberation. He says, quote, "There is a power that makes for righteousness, and those who ally themselves with that power are working for the eternal good," end quote. This spirit invites us to align our lives with forces of justice, courage, and faith. As we reflect on Spirit's presence, consider the hymn, another UU favorite, Spirit of Life, which we will soon sing together, because we didn't sing it together last week, so we're going to do it right this time. And the words that I'm referring to, which the whole song says it, Spirit of Life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Notice the active verbs in that. Sing, blow, rise, move. This is no static sense of spirit. It animates creation and urges us towards compassion and justice. Singing this hymn is a prayer. I know a lot of folks sometimes think, I'm not really one for praying. And we love to sing this song, and it is, in fact, an invocation. We are invoking the Spirit of life to come into us. That's what an invocation is. Today, as we continue confronting forces of injustice, just because it's the Christmas season, we know oppression don't take time off. Capitalism is systematic racism, climate crisis. We get small wins, but climate crisis, economic inequalities. You know, naming all of these things, it can be so easy to feel overwhelmed. And in my personal experiences, rational analysis of these things alone can really lead to increased feelings of despair. But I believe that spirit, the sense of spirit of something greater beyond us, helps us to not feel alone. Faith empowers us to act, even when the path ahead is unclear, trusting that there is a spiritual presence. Theologians and liberation movements remind us that spirit is an active force in the struggle for justice. Reverend Dr. Thandanka, a contemporary UU theologian, challenges us to feel deeply Spirit's call. She says, quote, "The religious task of liberal theology," and just as a reminder for some folks who, when words like theology, I used to kind of cringe at it. It's like, what are you saying, theology? God language is what that word means. God talk is what theology is. So the religious task of a liberal sense of God talking, a progressive sense of Spirit talking right now, like in this living tradition, is to create communities where people feel loved, empowered, and called to action by the Spirit of life itself. I'm so grateful that this faith has a history of having theologians, of leaders who just keep reminding us that there is something greater that's helping us on this fight to justice. I wanted to lift this up particularly right now because I think sometimes we forget that it's not just our hands. Even though we need our hands, we need the individuals, and I don't even mean to say hands in the ableist way. I just mean we need the people to do the work, and that is what I believe in. That is, even as I talk a lot about this sense of spirit and God, it is not to get confused that God comes alive in us as people doing the work. I'm just saying, I don't want to get it twisted. But it's both and. So, as we move towards a closing, I want to ask, how can we cultivate an openness to this spirit? How can we move beyond just intellectual engagement to embrace the living presence of love, justice, and liberation? Do y'all have any ideas? Because y'all are already doing some things. How do y'all engage a feeling of presence that helps you feel a sense of love and justice? I see Regina in the back. And I'll say it for you if the mic isn't available. Is someone? Go ahead. Yes! That's it. That is it. That is actually one of the things on my list. And just for folks who didn't hear, Regina said going out in nature. Actually, the microphone is available, so if you don't mind repeating it, you can have your own voice heard.
Going out into nature and just appreciating life in general.
Yes. I see another hand in the back and then a hand in the front. Cece.
Yes, it happens. Just this week, I decided to create an altar in my house, and I put photographs of people I love in as part of that, and it's where I intend to go to meditate every day, because I think meditation really helps me to just calm down and get to essentials instead of just always trying to worry about accomplishing something, rather to be present and enjoy my life.
Yes, thank you so much. Excuse me, Cece. As the mic comes up here, I want to just lift up both things, that whatever you do, the big part of it is actually being present to the activity that you are doing, whatever it is. If you're sitting in nature, if you're not actually being present to the nature that you're sitting in and appreciating it, as was said, we still miss that feeling of presence, if that's what you're going for.
Interacting with animals, whether it's wild animals or our pets, because they give us the sense of a consciousness which is different from ours, and a presence in life which is, very immediate, and an engagement with life.
Yes. Thank you so much. Animals and insects.
One of the things I've been trying to work on lately is finding all 5 senses in any given moment, whether it's a positive, negative, happy, sad, angry. And if you take 5 seconds or 30 seconds, figure out what you're smelling right there, figure out what do you taste in your mouth, what are you touching, what are you seeing, what are you hearing? And just taking note of those things and taking 30 seconds to just figure out where you are, where I am, helps me in truly appreciating my present being right then and there for that moment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tim. I see another hand in the back.
I want to echo the animals a little bit by saying children too. Yeah, like sitting in this corner, right? It's just the ultimate of openness and curiosity and possibilities of what an object is or who people are or what's going on around you. And if you don't have your own child, we have plenty to offer.
Thank you so much for including that part. I know I say this with laughter, but as a person who doesn't have children of my own, and this could sound really tender, but I'm sharing it because it's not a tender thing. As a person who doesn't have my own children, I found that I used to get really sad in the holidays, like everybody shopping for gifts, and I would feel like it's a gift to even know what to really get a little one who's really connected to you, and because it's not about the gift to a small child, it's about having the connection, and not having those connections ongoing would make me sad. And so it took a person inviting me to really participate in their families, like traditions, and be a part of their kids' lives, like that family there, that really helped me to not feel a sense of dread for the holidays. Like, I'm really excited that we have so many littles here, because I really do feel a sense of the divine in how they really do represent hope and presence and light and love to me, and joy, even in their complicated nature sometimes. Thank you so much. And after we take the ones online, then we'll wrap up.
All right, so Kim says, working towards justice with people of all faith and knowing my Christian colleagues are just as motivated as my humanist friends. And she also said the we is bigger than all that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kim. I just love that all of these were things that I wrote down to be prepared to mention just in case, but I should have just trusted that this community, we all show up in our own ways, and together we invite presence, the feeling of presence and the sense of presence that is just so diverse and multifaceted. That's what's really beautiful here to me, that if I believe, and this is the last thing I'll say in this way about it, if there is a God like that, I would really think that they would be Unitarian Universalists. I just gotta say, this faith holds it all. That's just my personal opinion, because somebody else said that God might be a cat or something, and something like that. And I'm like, this is a faith that would believe in a God that is a cat, that is loving us. Anyway. So the last thing that how I want to tie all of this together is that all of the things that we do, whether it's cultivating a sense of stillness, seeking beauty in nature, in each other, in engaging in community with people or pets or wild animals or insects, or the spirit of life itself, all of it is so important that we embrace whatever spirit we are inviting into that present moment: joy, peace, love, a sense of grounding, balance, even our breath. We do it with a sense of faith. That's the invitation, to not wait for a moment of perfect clarity to do the thing that it is that you've been called to do. Do it faithfully, like you do with your next breath. You don't think about it. That's faith. It really is. Align yourself. This is from a quote, excuse me. You are invited to not wait for perfect clarity, to trust that Spirit will guide you, to align yourself with the power that makes for righteousness, to help you create the better world that you are dreaming. I say that our denomination is not merely a faith of the mind. It is a faith that breathes, that sings, that moves and transforms. Let us open ourselves to Spirit's presence, the mysterious forces of love, justice, and liberation around us. And now, as we prepare to sing Spirit of Life, let us hold this prayer in our hearts. And may the Spirit of Life come to us, move through us, and awaken us to the sacred presence that is always near. Amen, and blessed be. Before the song, I actually do think I would like for the invitation to generosity words to be shared. Then we will sing together. Thank you.